Hey everybody, I'm Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, May 13th, 2020. Today I'm going to talk to you about the idea that God hates normal. Now, I get this phrase as something of a play on a song by the heavy metal band Slayer. They have a song called God Hates Us All. And when interviewed about this song, Tom Araya, the lead singer of Slayer, said, "Of course God doesn't hate us all. That doesn't even make any sense. But wow, that's a heck of a title for a song, isn't it?" And in the same way, when I say that God hates normal, I use this as a phrase because it's a heck of a title for a video, and maybe it can be an inspiring way for us to think about where we are and where we're trying to go. We find ourselves right now in a situation where everyone is trying to get back to normal. Now, I recognize what we mean by normal is simply being able to go to the store without masks on, being able to see our loved ones, being able to interact with our neighbors. I am craving that normal. But we also should recognize that in this crisis, the world being flipped upside down, as we talked about yesterday, has illustrated for us the way that normal also covers over genuine injustice and heartbreak and suffering for enormous numbers of the marginalized and oppressed and vulnerable in our society. Normal is that 80 million Americans are either uninsured or underinsured. Normal is immigrants are treated as actually being some sort of invading force, even often referred to as a kind of virus, bringing illness into our otherwise healthy body, rather than recognizing them as opportunities for hospitality, for engagement, and for charity. In normal times, we find ourselves in a situation where human dignity seems to be a property given to others if and only if they contribute to the gross domestic product, rather than understanding human dignity as something that is given to them as a basic constituent of their existence, and that it empowers them then to go forward and produce and work and do things that they take to matter. In normal times, you find ourselves in a situation where divisiveness, animosity, anger toward those with whom we disagree is in fact ordinary. In normal times, we are in a society where the poor can be, in fact, eliminated from our very sight so that we don't have to be interrupted in our middle and upper class existence. In normal times, we find ourselves with systemic racism, continued injustice relative to gender identity, and the exclusion of LGBTQ individuals. Normal's not all it's cracked up to be. And in that sense, I suggest that God hates normal. The story of the Good Samaritan, the story of the prodigal son are not stories that say, if you have been producing in the right sorts of ways, if you have made the right sorts of decisions with your life, if you in fact are the right kind of identity for our social narrative, then we will reward you with social power and status. Instead, the Bible offers a disruptive logic of abnormality. It is a logic that the powerless receive true power, that the humble receive true greatness, and ultimately that the poor inherit true riches. The last shall be first. This is not normal, and yet that is what I suggest that we are called to, especially those of us who identify with religious traditions anchored in biblical texts. For all too many, they advocate normal because it allows them to go back to their complacency in the status quo and the social empowerment it brings with it. That is in fact what Scripture calls for us to disrupt. Canonic wisdom is not normal. May we go forward, but let us not go back to that kind of normal. There is someplace much more compelling toward which we can strive. I'll see you tomorrow, unless a piano falls on our heads.